I don't know if you've noticed, but they've been shooting a whole bunch of billionaires up into space recently. I know what's up with that. They're trying to escape, I tell you. They're trying to escape. Hey, my name is Werner Puchert and I'm a creative entrepreneur. And I think for the most part, most of the world's problems are just interesting design challenges in disguise. Now, unfortunately, if you're like me and you spend a lot of money on buying design tools, you might not be able to pay for your next ticket off the planet. It's therefore very important for us folks who stick around to take care of what we have. So let's start off. First of all, I need to talk a little bit about what is the circular economy. Then I'm going to introduce you to the circular economy pattern cards by the BMI lab, and then touch a little bit on what the deck looks like, what's inside, and then finally how you can use it. Now, to start off, I want to introduce you to the idea of the linear economy. And if you follow me through my little sketch here, that we take something out of the earth and then we make something, we make a product, and then at some stage we start using it, it breaks down or we get tired of it, and then we dispose of it. So when we extract resources, we go around and we destroy things. And there's even bigger headaches when it comes to the whole disposal of things, all kinds of nasty things that happen there in the disposal process. Next to my linear economy, I've drawn out the circular economy. The idea is that there's a circular movement, so there's no real start or end point to this, but for this I have to start somewhere, right? If this whole system works properly, so there is still an element of take, then there's make, we'll be producing things, then we use things, and then at some stage, there needs to be some kind of recovery and then go into the make phase again. So the idea is that we take less and we dispose of less. Now, with that being said, I'm not really going to deep dive into all the aspects of the circular economy. And there's so many awesome resources out there. And I really encourage you to go check it out if you're not playing in that space already. What I want to talk about a little bit today is, of course, my circular economy pattern cards, which is the tool. So this is not my first introduction to the BMI lab. I actually have a few of the other tools. Maybe I'll do a few videos about them later on. But a lot of their focus is around business model. So I was kind of tweaked when they released this card deck around the circular economy. Even though I'm focusing here on the circular economy pattern cards, there's a whole circular economy navigator behind this. And there's a whole bunch of resources on the website. I'll link to this resource throughout the video, but I encourage you to check them out. It really references a framework and some other supporting tools that you can combine with this card deck. But that being said, this card deck and the resources you get with this actually stands on its own as well, and I'm really excited to introduce you to this. So let me stop blabbing on and show you what's inside. So as always, there's a nice little instruction manual inside. The box contains 40 cards. The cards are divided up into 4 categories. But before we dive into the categories, let me just give you a quick spin through the book. First of all, the book gives you an introduction into the circular economy very briefly. The 2 drawings that I've shown you here is also here, so you can use those. And then it takes you through a breakdown of the cards, which I'll introduce you to now. And then further on, gives you a little bit of a highlight of how to use the cards, and then they introduce the circular navigator. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not going to really deep dive the circular navigator, but it's really a nice process to help you actually design and come up with ideas and develop projects using the idea of the circular economy. So they have all the steps outlined here, and then of course that links back to a resource online. Another thing that I didn't mention, you can probably see this from the material that they've used and also from the 40 cards, it's a nice feeling set of cards. I feel responsible using it. So these 40 cards are divided into 4 subgroups. The first one is close the loop, and this is really focusing around helping you figure out that whole recovery aspect. So, is it around product reuse, part reuse, recycling? What can I do to close the loop? The other one is improve the loop, which thinks around, how can I think about longevity? How can things be used longer? Maintenance and repair. So if you think about this whole thing around, can I fix my iPhone? People demanding for the ability to fix technology that they purchase, which is super interesting. Then the third group is monetize the loop, nicely kind of categorizing certain ideas around how to build business cases. So for example, if you think about things like pay for use, rent instead of buy, performance-based contracting, subscription models, all these things, that's under monetize the loop. And then you have excite the loop? How can we actually get things going a little bit better? So for example, mass customization, something that is really interesting in the experience economy. Then focusing on things like rather selling experiences instead of services and products, building marketplaces, sharing, and then the eco Robin Hood. More on that later. As I mentioned, there's a total of 40 of these cards. Each card in itself has like a little illustration that relates to the element that they're trying to describe. So for example, you'll see in this card, let me give you a bit more of a better view here. You have here close the loop, which is the main category. But then the subcategory for this one is part reuse. You have the graphic here. And then if you don't really get what part reuse is about, they have a description here that will help you along the way. Now, what is really cool about this is if you flip this around, super handy, saves you a lot of research, is that they have two examples here. This one is TerraCycle, and then this is Bosch, and this is a small little case study where they then explain where these companies has used part reuse within the closed loop category. Also, you'll notice there's a QR code here. Slightly disappointing. I thought the QR code is going to take me to details of the case studies, but that said, it does take you through to the BMI website, and there you can download extra tools, gives you a bit more ideas around the circular economy. Still useful in a way, but a little bit unexpected. Even though there is not a lot of copy here, the descriptions is really succinct and to the point, and this is actually super handy when you're in a workshop space where, you don't have time to sit and read a long War and Peace manuals. I can flick through a few of the cards. I don't want to give away all their content because I think, you can really dive into this deck if you purchase it yourself. What I will do though is at least dip into one of the examples so that you get an idea of what you get with this card deck. So Eco Robin Hood. It's part of the Excite the Loop category. And then Robin Hood is depicted as a hero who takes from the rich and then helps those in need. For the circular economy, this includes helping the environment. Following this pattern, companies consciously drive value towards the ones in need by donating a share of revenue towards sustainable or social projects, compensating their negative externalities, as well as providing cheaper services or refurbished products for the poor. Now, if you flip this over, they've got Nike in here, a Swiss fashion and lifestyle brand. And then by purchasing their products, consumers contribute to reforestation. There you have an example. I wasn't even aware of this company. Then you also have Win for Prosperity here as an example. It's an initiative started by Vestas that refurbishes wind turbines from Europe to provide them to micro companies in public-private partnerships. Now, the other thing that you're probably going to think about or wonder is like, how do I use these? I have used some of the BMI cards before with a group of friends or colleagues rather, where we had to figure out a whole bunch of business models. And to be honest, we went through the set of cards that we had in a very structured way, one by one, ideating around that subset of cards. That is kind of more of a structured approach. And then the other way to do this, as they unpack in the little manual here as well, is to just hand some cards out to some of the participants, maybe in some of the subgroups or breakout groups, and then challenge them to use some of these models in some of the ideas that they develop. It just connects new kind of thoughts in your mind and it sparks new ideas, even if it's just loosely related to some of the topics here. You can grab this set of cards from Amazon. I understand it's available there. And also kudos to the guys from the BMI lab. I kind of scour the web for products all the time so that I can review them and use them. And I was one of the first ones to try and grab a deck of cards, and it didn't work out so well with me with the mighty Amazon. I think Bezos is busy shooting himself up to space, but they went out of their way to try and organize and get a set of cards into my hands. So I'll drop a link down to their website, and you can also head over to Amazon. So there you have it. The Circular Economy Pattern Cards by the BMI Lab, a mouthful from a bunch of clever people in Switzerland. I would love to hear your ideas and thoughts around the circular economy. Maybe if you have some extra resources that you can share in the comments, and then also some of the challenges you're facing around designing more responsible. So I want to thank you for watching this. And as always, if you found this interesting, please drop a bit of a note so I know that I'm moving in the right direction. And then, as always, catch you in the comments.